NAF pay. I just want to do a quick update on the NAF pay that I sent you guys all yesterday. Apparently, it is not due until later in June now, and so we don't have to freak out. But all you have to do is go on to NAF pay, go under your personal account, and put your personal email in there. That's all you guys have to do. So if you have any questions or concerns, write them down, give it to me on Monday, okay? All right, that's all I have.
What if it's blocked and you can't get in?
Oh, write your name down too so that I can, or come tell me Monday, then I can give it to Miss Savannah so we can get help. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Miss Beverly.
Thanks, Miss Alana. Okay, so Dr. B asked me if I could do a training today on behaviors and the process that we have to follow when it comes to the behaviors. Can everybody hear me? Yes, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over every single document so you know what it looks like and what it is that you will need to do as a teacher in the classroom. I'm also going to go over what type of behaviors would be considered unsafe, challenging, normal. So we're going to go over all of that as well, because when we have a behavior in the classroom, calling for a manager or saying send the child home is not something we can do. We have to follow the proper steps.
Stay quiet. I'm so sorry. Hold on.
If we're not following the proper steps to try to suspend or pause services or disenroll a child, we won't be able to. There's so much work that you guys have to do in the classroom for us to be successful with the disenrollment or the pausing of services, okay? So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully it works. Okay, can everyone see my screen right here?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're first, everything that I'm showing you is from the Department of Air Force, the required documents that we have to have, and also KIT, right? You know, we've had to take all these KIT trainings. KIT is the resource that we have to utilize when we have a child who's having a behavior or needing extra support. So let's start with this form. Okay, so these are types of behavior. I'm sure you have seen this before, but we're going to go over it one more time just to kind of reiterate what a behavior is. Okay, so typical behavior is developmentally appropriate, age appropriate, a 1-year-old biting, a 2-year-old biting. Those are all typical behaviors. A preschooler pushing another child down because he knocked over his tower, typical. Challenging behaviors, based on age and development, CYP professionals determine the abilities, right? Then we have concerning and unsafe. So if we come down here, we look at typical, concerning, and unsafe. Let me minimize that. Okay, so for a toddler, typical 18-month-old bite 1 time a month and leaving a faint mark. That is typical behavior of a toddler. Toddlers mean pre-tod and toddler, okay? Concerning, 18-month-old biting 3 times a week and leaving a mark, okay? That's a concerning behavior. Unsafe behavior, 18-month-old biting 3 times a week and breaking the skin each time. When we're looking at behaviors, we need to look at the frequency, the duration, and the intensity, okay? Those are the main things. So how often is the behavior happening, when the behavior started and how long it lasts, and the intensity, so the force of the severity of the action, okay? So let's look at preschool. 3-year-old pushes a child who knocks down their tower. That is a typical behavior. Children respond with aggression if they don't have the correct words to utilize. 3-year-old pushes others to the ground 5 times a day. That's concerning, right? Because it's happening 5 times a day. So they're pushing children down 5 times a day. And then a 3-year-old pushes a child to the ground and jumps on their stomach. That is definitely unsafe behavior. Okay. So this is what I wanted to do, is show you what each of these behavior, what typical, concerning, and unsafe behaviors are. Remember, challenging behavior puts a strain on the relationship between the child and the professional. Sometimes it's because the behavior or something, or sometimes it's because of the response to the behavior, right? So we also have to make sure that we are responding correctly when we are seeing behaviors, okay? Because the behavior will only intensify or become more frequent or last longer if we are responding inappropriately. Okay, so let's go to the next form. We did an entire training on this: reflect, connect, and redirect. This is so, so important. When we are utilizing these tools that Air Force has given us, we have to show how we are connecting and redirecting. If we do not show how we are connecting and redirecting, they will have us start all over from the very beginning, right? Our number one concern when it comes to challenging behaviors with children is to make sure that we are helping that child, not just yelling at them, not just removing them. That's not what we're here to do. We have to connect with them and then redirect. So acknowledge the child's feelings. I see that you are upset right now. Describe the child's body language. You are jumping up and down. You are pulling your hair. Help label the emotion. You must be very frustrated. Are you very sad? Redirect. Offer support, breathing, distractions, breaks, etc. Right? So if a child is at their level 10, right, and we try to get them to clean up the mess they made, we are going to be unsuccessful. That child is not going to be able to hear or process anything that you are saying. Their brain shuts down, right? If we connect first and calm, then we will be able to redirect, right? There is consequences to behaviors. Yes, we are able to provide consequences for behaviors. Yes. However, those consequences cannot occur when a child is not capable of understanding what it is you're trying to have them do, because they're in a fight or flight mode. So we have to connect first and then redirect. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So I have all of these tools that you will be able to have examples for. So let's kind of look at a preschool child, right? So we're going to reflect. So we're going to take a breath and think about our tone and our voice, right? If we're automatically like, no, Jimmy, get off the climber, that's not what is going to be successful or help the child. We need to make sure we take a deep breath, look at our tone, and recognize that the child is frustrated, okay? So this is the example. Sorry, I didn't see that. A child gets upset when it's time to clean up for lunch and begins throwing blocks and yelling, okay? So take a deep breath, recognize the child's frustration, right? Then you go to the connect. Your face is scrunched up and you're yelling. You seem frustrated because you want to keep playing with blocks.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so those are ways that you can connect, because you're acknowledging what the child may be experiencing, right? Then you can redirect once they are off their level 10. We can throw blocks. We can't throw blocks because they might hurt someone. Let's put them down. Let's take a deep breath with me. Would you like to draw at the art table or do wall push-ups, right? So we're redirecting that energy to something different. I know you probably are frustrated when a manager or a trainer comes into the classroom and a child is at a level 10, and our goal is to bring the child down first before we then go redirect. Okay, when a manager or a supervisor comes into a classroom, the last thing we want to hear is everything that child was doing incorrectly, because the child is also hearing everything. We want you to be able to handle the situation, and we attend to the other children in the classroom. Or if you are already at your 10, we will handle the situation. But you have to show that you are trying to connect and redirect. Connect and redirect. If you are not, we cannot be successful in helping these children. And some children are require too much accommodations for us to provide, right? I understand that. I know that. But we need to make sure we're doing our steps and our process to make sure that we are doing everything we can, because we are an inclusion program, not an exclusion program. Our job is not easy. Children are not easy. Behaviors are not easy, but all of these tools are here to help you. All right, let's go to the next one. Any questions on connect and reflect and redirect? Nope. Okay, we're going on to the next. Okay, so the inclusion guide. This is what Air Force brought down. It is about,
Wait,
yes.
I'm so sorry. Hey, who is this? Okay, first of all, I have an iPhone that I can't see your face on. I see the
That would
camera.
be me.
Who's me?
It's Sue, because you know, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm in the car.
Okay, so that's
So-
you. There's
Yep.
another phone that I can't see. And I have Yolanda, I can't see you either. So I need you
I
guys to
can
put
see you.
Okay, well that's good.
If you look at the bottom of your screen on your phone, you will see the microphone icon and also the video icon. If it's across, it has like a red line across, that means that you are either muted or your video is off. All you have to do is click
Okay.
to turn it on.
Okay.
All right, Alana, I think I just did that. So is that better?
Yep, you're good. Thank you.
Okay,
I have
good,
one-
thanks.
iPhone that I can't see who that person is. So if you can put your face in there, that'd be great. Ah, perfect. Thank you. Sorry,
So
Ben.
I'm all set then?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we good, Miss Alana?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Totally okay. So the inclusion guide that Air Force has brought down, it's newer, right? And it's like 138 pages, and we have to follow it to a T. So they have a support pyramid that we have to follow, right? So in a support pyramid for any child that have any type of special needs, this is medical, this is complex, this is behavior, any type of special needs a child has, we have to follow the pyramid. So it starts with the foundational supports, okay? This starts at the bottom and works its way up. We cannot go from, we tried for the last 6 months, now we need to kick them out. No, no, no. What we have to prove is that we are doing environmental supports, targeted supports, and then intensive supports. And then we can say, maybe we can't accommodate this child, right? But it all starts at the very, very bottom. And so I'll explain each support, what it looks like in a second. Okay, so foundational support. What is supported? Positive connections among a child and CYP professional, child and peers, family and CYP professionals, staff working together in the program. This is what foundational support looks like, okay? Environmental, the structure of the physical space, the materials, the activities, the schedule routine, and the rules and expectations, right? Those are all environmental supports. And I'm going to show you documents that we could utilize to help strengthen any of these areas. And then targeted support, strategies and tools CYP professionals use to teach and reinforce skills in communication, coping with self-regulation, play, self-help, or social interaction. Individual strengths, intensive support is individual strengths and needs of the child based on accommodations required in the program and supports in place at the lower level of the pyramid, okay? We have to follow this entire pyramid before we can say we cannot accommodate this child, okay? We cannot just go, nope, we're done, send him home. That's not how it's working. Okay, so let's talk about some of these forms. All these forms here are forms that we need to have in order to submit a package up to Air Force requesting that we cannot accommodate a child. If we do not have these forms, we cannot request a we cannot accommodate. Okay, so everybody should have already seen this form. This is the we need your help form. Okay, this form you fill out and you give to a manager. Okay, the manager will then decide if, okay, have you guys not done enough to help support this child and we need to get the parents now involved? Or is this, you guys tried so much with all the things that you need, then we're going to go ahead. So if it is, we need you to be informed of our observations and plan support, but no additional follow-up is needed at this time. You can tick this box. We need your help as we develop a plan for how to best support the child. You can click this box, right? Management will then sit and have a meeting with the parents. We will try to get the teachers out of the classroom as well, but we cannot guarantee that. Okay, but if the teachers are in constant communication with management and trainers, then we will be able to help relay the messages that you're saying about the child to the parent. It is also very, very, very important that you are sharing information with the parents. If you do not let the parents know that a child had a bad day, they're going to come and say, well, no teachers have ever told me about this behavior. No one's ever said anything to me about this behavior, right? So we have to keep that communication open, okay? I'm going to show you a log you can use to help make sure that you are making sure that you are communicating and it's documented. So this is the first step. We need your help form. Okay, all of these forms, I'm going to create a area in the building, maybe a filing cabinet or something that will have all of these forms ready and accessible to you. Okay, so that's the we need your help. So say we have a child who needs a little bit support or has needs special accommodations, right? So this is what's called the CYP program accommodation tool. And there's many areas that we have for program accommodation. So the first one is a medical need. Okay, so if they have a food allergy, anytime a child has a medical need, we have to fill out one of these forms. Accommodation required. Does the child or youth require accommodations to participate? Yes, they will probably need to have separate food. Okay, can the program reasonably accommodate within operation procedures? Yes, we can. Now, say we get a child who now has celiac disease and cannot have any gluten. That is too much to accommodate in our kitchen because literally gluten's in everything. So we would have to look at other resources that we would have to utilize to ensure that we can provide gluten-free food for that child. Or do we have to go and have the parents bring in the food and get permission for that? There's many different ways we have to follow or that we can go down. Then we just kind of fill all this out and then the director signs it and states it. This is for a medical need, okay? Now we have parent or sponsor initiated non-medical need. Okay, so what is considered a non-medical need? This is developmental, learning, physical, sensory. Okay, so I'm going to use Liam Decker, right? Liam Decker has one hand. So he has what he calls a nubby, right? So that is a non-medical need, right? But we are able to accommodate that. So we briefly describe what it is and we're able to accommodate. Does the child or youth require accommodations in the CYP program? I don't feel he does, but maybe he needs extra assistance with potty training, or maybe he needs extra special scissors to cut. All of those things, that's accommodations that we would make to help make sure that we are providing the same amount of accommodations for Liam as we would for any child. Okay. Then we have program initiated non-medical need. Okay. This is what we utilize for behavior, developmental, learning, physical, sensory, social, emotional. Okay. It affects the child's ability to participate in the program routine and activity or contact with others. Okay. So we would do this non-medical need if we've noticed that a child is struggling or displaying these types of behaviors. Okay. Then we would need to make sure that we connect. What is our connection practices, right? Is our staffing patterns, approaches? We use the connect and redirect strategy, right? Date of initial meeting with parents. So when you give us that we need your help form, we set up a meeting with the parents. We then have a meeting with the parents and write that date, and we describe what we discussed. Did we start a support tracker, right? I'm going to show you that. That's the main form that we're going to try to focus on. I'm briefly touching on these, but the support tracker is the main form that we're going to practice, work on. Did you implement the connection practices effectively, supported the child's needs, right? We need to look at the connection practice. Was the environmental practice meeting date, right? There's so many things we have to do. What are the accommodations we made? Can the program reasonably accommodate? We have to have reason and justification for all of these. And we have to show that we have done our due diligence. We cannot just say we cannot accommodate. And then complex needs. Okay. Complex needs is, has several needs that tend to interact or impact development and well-being. Child has a speech delay and a sensory processing disorder. She becomes overwhelmed easily and has a difficult time communicating when that happens, right? We have some children that have complex needs. We also need to show our due diligence. Just because a child has complex needs doesn't mean we cannot accommodate that child, okay? And each child is different, and what works for one child may not work for the other child. So describe the child, and does the child or youth have complex needs that might impact participation and interactions, right? Most of the children that we have in our program that have complex needs more than likely are not interacting with their peers. Does the child or youth participations pose a direct health safety risk to self and others? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Does the accommodations require result in a fundamental alteration of the program? This means we need to provide a one-on-one. This means we have to take choking hazards out of a classroom in a preschool classroom. This means making that fundamental alterations to the program. Do the accommodations required significant difficulty or expensive to the program? Okay, so let's break this down. If we are directed to do a one-on-one, I then have to ensure that that one-on-one has the proper training, that one-on-one has the proper ability, that one-on-one is also willing, and I have to get approval from headquarters to provide a one-on-one, right? So that is too expensive for the program. 98% of the time, Air Force is going to say, nope, I'm sorry, we can't provide a one-on-one. Okay, has the program made reasonable accommodations, right? We need to show that we have tried. If we are not showing that we have tried, we will not be successful in pausing services of care or disenrolling the child from the program. Our program does try to accommodate all children. Some children cannot be accommodated in our program, and that's okay. So did we have an action? Did we have an IAT? Do we have an inclusion support plan? Have we collaborated with outside agencies for support? Does his inclusion support plan or other supports worked with the support tracker? Did we call KIT? We have to tick all these boxes, all of them, to be able to say, we've tried everything we can. I don't know how we're supposed to accommodate this child. If no, then you have to refer the child to the IAT and explain the process to the parents, and invite them to an IAT meeting. Okay, So if we haven't done all these things, we have to do an IAT, okay? In the IAT, we have to bring all the documentation, okay? And the classroom documentation is the most important. And that's what we are lacking on. I know you feel it's more work, but if you want help and support, we need to be able to show that you are doing the right things and the things that we are requesting you to do. Okay?
So,
Does the
yeah,
program
let me-
have,
Let me interrupt Ms.
Yep.
St. Peter. So listen, like Ms. Beverly said to all of you already, it is paperwork, but unfortunately, on the packages that we have submitted to headquarters for this enrollment, we are lacking that information. Because the very first step is taken by the teacher. You know my policy. I tend to say I'm zero tolerance because the first thing that we intend is to protect you from getting hurt by a child who's acting out. And as you know, in the past, every time we have had incidents where children are hurting our caregivers or other children, we're sending them home. And that's perfectly okay. I will continue to support that practice because we want to protect you. But in order for us to do all the paperwork to disenroll or to post services, we need to have your feedback because you're the ones who interact with these children on a daily basis. We need to have information that shows that you're talking to the parents, that you are coordinating actions with the trainers, telling our managers what is going on in the classrooms, so that we can use that to prove the fact that if the child can or cannot be served. So it is tedious, but it is necessary to keep the sanity of the process in a way that we don't get questioned by headquarters by saying, where is the documentation? You don't have it. What did you do to de-escalate the behavior? What did you do to accommodate that shows to us that you cannot accommodate, that is a deviation of the program? That is the reason why this is very important. We need to count on your support to help you help those children to get the right placement if they have to be disenrolled, to post the services if that is the case. Okay, thank you, Ms. Beverly.
oh, you're welcome. So like Dr. B said, it is very important that we are using all of the documents. I know that in past cases, we have done all of these steps. I know that. I know we have done all kinds of different strategies, used different tools, tried different techniques, reached out to different people. I know we've done that, but it's not documented. So then it doesn't count. We have to make sure we're documenting it for it to count. Okay. So does the program have objective documentation of a document, health or safety risk, fundamental alterations, or an undue burden, right? We have to consult with legal. We have to meet with the regional CYP manager. Did we talk to our commander? Have we sent it up to headquarters? If not, we have to begin the support tracker. So if, again, it starts at that support tracker. If we have done none of these things, and this child's behavior has been continuing for like the last year, but we don't have a support tracker, it has to start all over. We have to have the support tracker. And we have to consult with KIT. That could be a call or a visit from KIT. And then that's the accommodation tools that we have to show and do for every child in our program that needs any type of special accommodations. Okay. Any questions on the accommodation tool? Okay, this accommodation tool is filled out by a manager with the help of the teachers in the classroom and the trainers, okay? All right, so then we have the connection, right? The connection practice planning tool. This is a fundamental support. We have to start at the very bottom. And at the very bottom is building that connection, connecting with the child, right? So this is a form that you would fill out, right? What are the strengths and needs of the child? So the needs, what are his needs? What are the family strengths? Staffing pattern for facility-based settings. Describe the staffing pattern in the room for the last 3 months. Are you single ratio? Is it the same staff? Is it teachers have been on vacation? Write that down. For inconsistency, staffing, or recent change, what is the plan to improve the staffing pattern, right? So maybe teachers are going to be coming in more frequently, calling out less. Approach and language. What is our team approach to addressing the child's youth or needs? What common language will be used to consistently support and stay on the same page? Okay, we're not going to say, no, stop, don't. Okay, he needs some extra help to join play. So we will stay close to him during free choice. When he grabs a toy, we will say to him, are you trying to play? Right? We're not going to say, Johnny, don't grab her toy. We're going to say, Johnny, are you trying to play? We need to make sure the language that we are using and the approach we are using is consistent all of the time. Then we have that connect and redirect. How are you going to connect with that child? And how will you redirect with that child? Okay, what is the staff members going to do to help support this child in making sure that we can try to be successful or the child be successful? What are the flex staff supposed to do? So these are expectations that you will set for the breakers that come into your classroom or people who may be filling in. You need to make sure that this is available so that they are aware of the way that they are supposed to be communicating to a child who may be struggling, okay? What do you need from the trainers, right? Do you need the trainers to provide you more training or support on how to de-escalate a child, how to calm a child down? You need to write what you need from a trainer. And then what are you needing from the director or assistant director, right? What is things that you feel you need? And what is your plan to connect with the family? And what is the date? Okay. And then we're starting our support tracker date. And then we'll do a follow-up meeting and we'll write how frequently the support tracker is. Once this is all filled out by you in the classroom, it's going to get reviewed by the training curriculum specialist, the director, and both the teachers, or if there's 3 teachers, sign over here. All 3 teachers will sign this form. This is you stating you are going to go and try to do all the process you can to do the connection practices first. Okay, this form has to be done. Any questions on the connection practice planning tool? No? Okay. Then I'll briefly show you this. So this is what the trainer or a manager will do if you're having a child who is having behaviors. We'll come in and we'll look at your environment, okay? Now, when we say environment, it just doesn't mean the classroom, the toys, the shelves. It means literally everything. Transitions, tone, everything, okay? So routine and activities observed, right? What was going on when we were doing the observation? What was the strengths of best practices overall, right? Are you engaging children in activities? Are you providing that child individual cues? What are some of the strengths that you're demonstrating? Are you having positive interactions and communication? If we come into a classroom and all we do is hear teachers raising their voice and using inappropriate tone, how is that positive, right? We need to make sure that we are providing positive interactions and connections with the child or all children. Actions observed, right? So this is what we're going to look at. Describe the body language, facial expressions, and direct quotes observed. So a child sat down next to FL and she splashed him on the chest area with both hands, causing him to fall on the ground. So this is where we're going to observe the child and the behavior and the impact the child relationship with other peers. Okay, which type of behavior did you observe? Is it typical? Is it challenging? Is it concerning? Or is it unsafe? Okay, this is what a manager or a trainer will decide. Okay, so what are some of the influences that the actions you have observed, what may have led to the behavior? So this is an outsider looking in to maybe help provide you more support to help prevent behaviors from happening, not to judge you, not to tell you what you're doing wrong, to help support you. Okay, so we look at all these influencers, right? Before I saw this form, I wasn't able to break it down, but now I can see what different areas of social and emotional in the environment can be causing the behavior. Is there sensory? Oh, sorry. Is there sensory environment that is leading to the behavior of physical space or materials, or is it the activities, right? If it's more than one, this is utilized to help you, okay? Then we write notes on the influences, right? So too many materials out. So when Johnny went to art center, he started dumping all the pencils, pens, markers, everything out on the floor, right? But when he was playing in housekeeping, he was putting the baby on the high chair and feeding it a bottle. So that's an example of maybe too many materials. Communication. Note what the child may have been trying to communicate through the behavior observed. Behavior is a way of communicating. Every behavior is a way a child is communicating, okay? It is not because the child is bad. It is not because the child is a brat. It is not because a child is a big a-hole. That's not the case. They're trying to communicate something. Are they trying to get adult attention? Are they trying to avoid transitions, activities, or tasks? Are they trying to get one of their needs met, like a movement, sensory, emotional? Okay, we have to look at all of these and see what is it that they are trying to communicate. Okay, notes on communication, right? So with the materials, engagement with toys and materials, right? He's trying to maybe communicate, there's too many toys here, I don't know how to play with them, when he's dumping all the markers and the crayons and the colored pencils on the floor. He may be saying, I don't know how to play with these, there's too many. We don't know, right? Because every behavior is a way to communicate. Then if you observed a child's action needing redirection, describe how the child was approached and supported. Okay, we're going to look and see how you are doing that connect and redirect strategy. Okay, any recommendations that the manager or trainer has, they're going to write down here. Then the trainer and the director will sign it, as well as the teachers in the classroom. Okay, this is a tool to help you. It's a tool to help you identify maybe things that you can't see. Okay, any questions on the trainer environmental observation tool? No? Okay. So then we have this tool, the environmental practice planning tool. So this is for environmental support, right? We're going up the ladder a little bit, or up the pyramid a little bit. Now we're figuring out what we need to do to our environment to help the child, okay? So we look at background information. What additional strengths has the team noted since starting the connection practice? We have to try to connect before we can redirect, okay? So what are some of the strengths that you've noticed? What are additional needs? Sorry, what additional needs have been identified since starting the connection practice? What are the notes noted as influencers on the support tracker? So again, we're back at that support tracker. Which connection practices are working well? This is stuff that the teacher is filling this form out. If we don't have this form, we can't submit it to headquarters. We need to show that we are trying and we are doing everything that we can do. What specific activities of the day tend to be difficult for the child and youth, or child and youth? So you look at that. How about the physical environment, sensory environment, social and emotional support priorities? Select the top 2 priorities and describe the planned adjustment based on the child's needs, okay? So if it's materials, okay, we're going to go ahead and tick this box and we're going to write maybe putting 10 colored pencils out, maybe putting 10 markers out, maybe sitting one-on-one with Johnny and showing him how to utilize each of the materials at Art Center, right? So we're writing those strategy down of how we're going to help support the child. We're going to write down how we're going to connect and redirect. So if he dumps the markers on the floor, okay, we're not going to say, Johnny, walk away. Johnny, you're done. Johnny, no, clean up. That's not what we have to do. We have to connect and redirect. Johnny, you threw all the markers on the floor. Would you like for me to show you how to use the markers? We're connecting. Or if Johnny is at his level 10, are we then calming him down first before we redirect him to clean up the markers? Because if we connect with him and we say, Johnny, you threw all the markers on the floor. Would you like for me to show you how to use the markers? Why don't you help me pick them up and I can show you how to use the markers? Okay, connect and redirect. So team support. How will the team support the primary staff to help the planned adjustments? What is the timeline? So this is what you need to write in here of what you need from us, the team, trainers, managers, okay? And then we all sign it and we have a follow-up meeting date. So that's usually 3 to 4 weeks prior with a response of the support tracker, okay? Any questions on this environmental practice planning tool? We're going up the pyramid. We're at environmental supports. So we've done our foundational supports, which are connecting and redirecting, building that foundation, that connection with the child, identifying what maybe the needs are of the child. Then we look at the environmental supports. That's where we're at. So let's go to the next one. So this one, this is the one I want everybody to get a pen and paper and we are going to fill it out, okay? I want you to think of a child that you have had in your room, that you currently have in your room, or that you have randomly heard about in the program, okay? And I want you to write their first, you don't even have to write their first last name. Let's just do initial. So say if I'm doing Liam Decker, I'm going to do LD. Okay, sorry, Amanda, I keep calling out Liam, but he's a good boy. Is everybody writing it? I can't see everybody because my screen is, okay, then I want you to write the name of staff completing this tracker, right? That's going to be you. Then we're going to look at the frequency, right? For something to be successful or to work, we have to do it frequently and consistently, okay? So we're going to do it once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day for a week straight or for 2 weeks straight. So let's say we're going to do it once a day for a week, okay? So what sources are we going to use? Okay, are we going to use that connection practice tool that we use, the environmental practice tool, his inclusion support plan, the kit recommendations, right? And we're going to briefly describe the supports that we are going to do. Only focus on 1 or 2. Okay, so say for example, we're going to go with the child who is dumping the markers all over the floor, okay? Or dumping toys. Briefly describe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write dumping toys and I'm going to describe what I'm going to do to help him be successful, right? So I'm going to do connect and redirect strategy. I'm going to connect first before having the child clean up. Okay. I'm also going to provide one-on-one coloring with or marker play with a child, right? So come up with 2 strategies for that child, for that behavior that you are seeing. I'll give you a second.
Miss Beverly, you're wanting this to be turned in, right, on Monday?
Yes, this paper is gonna be turned in to my mailbox, like where you put your leaf slips on Monday. If you do not turn in this paper, you will not receive credit for this training, okay? So say you have any child, think of any behavior. You can even use the example that I am giving you, okay? But it has to be turned in to me so that you can get credit for this training, okay?
Miss Beverly, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you send us this form in an email so we can fill it out, the example, or you want us really to have it?
Just right now, we're just going to write it down. Ideally, I would love for everyone to have a copy and they would be doing it as we're talking. But this training was presented last minute, so we're going to just go with it. So just write down your answers to these questions, okay?
While everybody writes their answers, Miss Beverly, I wanted to suggest, if it's okay with you, rather than having a binder in the front desk, to have a binder in each classroom so that teacher can have direct access to this form.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely do that. So each
Yeah.
classroom, I'll create a inclusion binder, and it
Yes.
will have all the forms that we will be requesting you to fill out when you are requesting support for a challenge, for a child who's having a challenge or who needs special accommodation. That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Dr. B.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to look at what some of the outcomes would look like. What would a successful outcome look like? And with your recommendations, with your the support that you're going to provide, what would it be successful? So in my example with dumping toys out, a successful outcome would be Johnny was redirected and cleaned up all the markers and continued to play. A neutral outcome would be Johnny threw 2 more bins of toys, but was able to be redirected and was excited to color with markers. Okay. And then an unsuccessful example of what it would look like, right? That's Johnny throwing all the toys, running away from the teacher, and pushing a child down. Okay, that's unsuccessful. So I want you to write what a successful, what a neutral, and what an unsuccessful outcome would be. Okay, so I'm gonna call on a few people to tell me what their support description is and what their outcome description would be. Okay, so let's go with Miss Alana. Can you call on someone? Because I really can't see all the screens.
Sure, let's go with, who am I gonna go with? Let's do Mariah.
Okay, Mariah, what is your support description and what are your outcome descriptions?
I am lost, so I'm reading what Amanda wrote in the chat because I didn't catch what you were doing either. Now I can't. Now my phone is frozen.
A few people needed the directions to be repeated, Ms. Beverly.
Oh, okay. So I'll repeat it again. In this, what I need you to do is write down, hold on. Say you have a child in your classroom who is displaying a behavior that you want to help support or change that behavior, such as dumping out toys, okay? We're going to write down 1 or 2 supports that we are going to utilize to help him stop that behavior or help prevent that behavior, right? So if a child is constantly dumping out toys, we need to come up with what supports we are going to do to help him stop dumping out toys.
Take away.
And then we need to write what it would look like if we are successful, if we are semi-successful, and if we are unsuccessful. Does that help?
Do you want me to give a couple more minutes before I call someone?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Ms. Beverly, we have a question.
Oh, I'm ready. Go ahead, Miss Amanda.
Do we have to write the source of support?
No. When we are filling out this form in real life, you have to write the source of support. That is why we do all of these different tools, so we can refer back to it and be able to utilize that as a support. But right now, no. All right, give a thumbs up if you're ready. I can't see it, so Alana, you're gonna have to decide if we're ready to continue and call on people or if we need more time.
I think I only saw like 2 people, so we're gonna give it a couple more minutes.
Okay, perfect. This is why this is important. We need to make sure that we understand this. If you still have questions, please type it in the chat box and I can help answer that question. Amanda will read it to me.
I don't mean to send to Bonnie, everyone.
What?
Ready. Did I do? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I was sending messages directly to Miss Bonnie instead of to everyone. And I guess I unmuted it right as I was saying that. I didn't want to do that. But I think I'm ready. I think.
Okay,
Can we go over mine, Miss Beverly?
Yep. Go ahead, Miss Kayla.
Okay. So I picked the kid and I had the frequency. They were doing it 3 times a day for a week. They were dumping toys. So the sources I put the connect and redirect, tried to calm first, and then try to get them to redirect or provide age appropriate consequence, one-on-one assistance, or providing another activity. Was that what for the first part? Is that right?
So yeah, that's a great example, right? So let's break it down a little bit, right? So you talked about a child who's dumping toys. Your 1 to 2 supports that you are going to utilize is number 1, connect and redirect. Okay.
Okay.
Number 2, it's going to be one-on-one support. Okay, those are the 2. We need to be very specific on what we're going to do, and we need to try it consistently, right? Every single time this situation happens, we're going to do the exact same thing. That's how we're going to demonstrate if it is successful, semi-successful, or unsuccessful.
Okay.
Okay, so what would a successful outcome be for your support?
A successful outcome was the child was able to be calmed and picked up the toys and then redirected to a new activity.
Okay, what is a semi or a neutral?
Picked up those toys, dumped more toys, but then clean them all up.
Okay, perfect. And what would an unsuccessful look like?
It was just bad, was unable to calm and redirect, more toys dumped, and I had to call for a trainer.
Okay, so that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect on what we want to see: successful, neutral, or unsuccessful. All right, who else wants to share a different age group?
What was her successful?
Her successful was child was able to pick up the toys and was able to be redirected to a new activity.
Okay.
Miss Tina said she'll share.
Okay, Miss Tina, let's hear it. Let's go.
Sorry, I had to turn back on my audio. All right, so I put the behavior is 5 times a day of removing shoes and leaving them around the classroom or hiding them.
Yeah.
The activity is the teacher puts them back on for the child and explains the safety first. We need to keep our shoes on. My
Okay.
successful outcome would be that they keep their shoes on all day. My neutral shoes were only removed at nap time. And then my unsuccessful would be there is no change in the behavior.
Okay, so that is a great and a perfect example. Okay, what age group is this child?
Pre-Todd.
Okay, a pre-Todd, right? So your successful outcome for a 1-year-old is to keep their shoes on all day, right? I think if this child is a child who removes their shoes all day long every day, to be successful for their shoes to be on all day long is maybe too much right away, right? So maybe successful, we'll break it down a little bit more, right? So maybe successful would be child kept shoes on for 2 hours. Child kept shoes on while in the classroom. That break it down to smaller, because we need to make sure that we're not making such unrealistic expectations. Yes, child need to keep their shoes on, but this is a behavior that a child is displaying. We need to take baby steps to help make sure that they are successful with kind of getting rid of these behaviors, or us supporting or helping them with these behaviors. Does that make sense, Miss Tina?
And also through the process of documenting the strategies, the strategies that you are applying, all of you teachers do such a phenomenal job talking to the child. It is important that you also document your praising, your positive reinforcement, how we say, hey, Johnny, you did a great job putting your shoes back on. This is amazing. This is awesome, So the praising and the support that you provide to the child, the verbal positive reinforcement is very, very important. Give yourself credit, because these forms are also designed for you to write your story and say, hey, I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Dr. B. I know we do these things all day long, right? I know the child you're talking about, we put that child's shoes on all day long, every single day. I know it is a struggle. I know it is something that is a work in progress to help that child be successful, especially since that child will be moving to a toddler classroom, right? And we don't want to have that kind of behavior in toddler classroom. One, there's more children. Two, they have to walk by themselves for fire drills, right? So it's definitely a behavior, but I know you guys already do these things. We just have to track it, okay? All right, a different age group, a toddler age group. Come on, toddlers, there's like 17 of you in one class, in one room.
I'm gonna call on someone in a minute. Okay, I'm choosing Ashley because she's hiding.
Come on, Ashley, let's go hear it.
I don't want to.
You can do it. Come on, then.
It's my birthday. Don't make me do it.
Happy birthday, but go ahead.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I did a child who was biting.
Okay.
Okay. So I did the environment and the connection practice tool.
Okay.
I did the provide like one-on-one activities to prevent biting others, provide connections to understand the behavior. A successful one would be that you provide one-on-one activities and they're redirected and no longer bites. A neutral one would be that they try to still bite or push, but is able to be redirected and not. And unsuccessful would be not being able to be redirected and still going after somebody and biting and pushing, and a trainer needs to be called.
Perfect. That is a great example. That is definitely a great example.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, how about infants? Come on, infants. How many times have you told me this child's got to go? This child's got to go. He's climbing on these babies. How many times have you told me that?
All right, Miss Martha, I'm choosing you.
Yes.
You have to unmute yourself, Miss Martha.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have one, an infant likes to pull hair.
Yep.
And as I see that infant pulling hair, I go over to him, like to help him remove his hand from the child's hair and redirect him to like a toy to play with instead of pulling hair. Even though I don't understand, I understand babies are still learning, exploring things. They don't really understand what they're doing.
Right.
So infants is kind of different from the older children. So
that's correct. So say you have
Yeah.
a child who is pulling hair. Maybe that's a way the child is communicating, saying, I need something sensory. Right?
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you could, one of the supports that you could provide is bring out more sensory items. Right. So
Mhm.
when you bring out more sensory items and you're seeing like this child is going to, is constantly trying to pull hair, and you provide sensory items, it could prevent them from pulling a child's hair. Right.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Martha, for sharing. Thank
You're
you,
welcome,
everyone.
hon. Thank you.
Okay, so I feel we have a good understanding of this first part. Okay, now staff and providers notes. Use the space below to note things that may influence the success. Activities, materials, space, transitions, changes, time of day, peer interaction, adult direction. Anything that you feel could influence the success of the child in alleviating the behavior. So write it down. One of my examples would be staffing changes. Okay. One of my examples would be close to nap time. One of my examples is maybe they're waiting too long. I see that a lot, that we have children hurry up and sit and wait, right? Maybe that's when behaviors are escalated and they're going to be unsuccessful. I understand sometimes we have to wait, but maybe that's going to trigger an unsuccessful response to the strategy that you're providing. Okay, who wants to share their influencers? The influences that would determine the success of a child. Alana, call on people.
Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to help someone with technical difficulty.
That's okay.
Let me see who's here. Let me see. Let's do. Let's do Yolanda.
Yolanda, what are some influences that will maybe hinder his success? Hello, Yolanda?
Yolanda, your mouth was moving, but we can't hear anything.
Oh, you're gonna have to unmute.
Maybe, do you not have a microphone? I'm not sure, because it looks like you're unmuted.
Oh, okay, calling someone
Okay,
else.
I'll
Thank you
call
for the
someone
good
else.
try,
Sorry, Yolanda. Let's do Alexis.
Alexis.
You got this.
I said behavior typically picks up just before transitions, like when we give them their 2-minute warnings.
Yep. That's a great example. Okay, who else? Come on, don't be shy. We're all learning here.
How about?
I'll go.
Yes,
Okay.
Maryland.
I said, well, for the child I picked, the child goes to school, so has multiple different teachers and has different ways of redirection. So the teachers at the CDC and the teachers at school aren't communicating with how they talk to said child.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so like that's maybe some of the influencers that. the
Yeah, so like if
communication-
the CDC's redirecting one way and the teachers at the school are redirecting a different way and the child doesn't understand what
Perfect.
they're
That-
supposed to do.
Yep, that's a great example, right? That may be something that influences the success, right? So that's something that we know we need to work on.
Anybody else?
One more.
I can go.
All right, let's go.
So for mine, I did dumping toys because this kiddo does it quite often. He's getting better, but for him, there's just not enough structure in the room. Like when he first got in there and he transitioned, there wasn't like he wasn't used to picking up his own toys pretty much. So he would just dump. Gotten better, but we've noticed like if he's dumping, it's because there's not enough structure for him. Like he needs something to occupy him more. So if he doesn't have enough structure, he's the one little one that'll just go around and just dump for fun.
Perfect. This is what this form is for. Thank you, Lindsay. That was a great example. This is what this form is for. This form can help you realize something that maybe you're missing, right? So if this child Lindsay's talking about is dumping when they don't have anything to do, they're trying to communicate. They're trying to say, hey guys, I'm bored. I'm going to make my own fun. Let me dump all these toys, right? So that's definitely an influence that can hinder the success of the child. Okay, so now we're going to get to the tracker itself. So let's look at this. So we have the name of the staff members, list all that may apply, right? So if we're in a room and there's 3 teachers, all 3 teachers' names should be on here, okay? And the frequency is we are going to try this support once a day for a week, or 3 times a day for a week, right? Each time you try it, you have to write down what your support was, right? So say the support for dumping out the toys that I had was one-on-one interaction, right? One-on-one showing of playing toys. That's the support. Then I write their child's reaction. And then I say, was the outcome successful, neutral, or unsuccessful? You already have the information right here that will tell you if it was successful, neutral, or unsuccessful. Okay.
What are you bad?
So let's look at, I want you to fill this out, and I want you to randomly pick a time, pick a location. It could be outside, library, anywhere in your room or with the child, the activity that was going on, and if there was influencers, right? If the room had 5 extra children in it that normally not in the room, right? Write an influencer that may have influenced the child's outcome. Then you write the support you provided. The support is already written right here in the support description. So that's why it's very important to be very brief with those 1 or 2 supports that you're going to provide. So if it's one-on-one, if it's providing sensory items, right? So for example, Martha's one, right? So we're going to go down here and we're going to do time of day was like 9:30. Location was on the mat. Activity was reading stories. Influencer, there's 2 extra children in the classroom that normally are not there. The supports, providing sensory items, child's interaction. So say it's Johnny. Johnny played with the sensory items for 5 minutes, then went over and pulled so-and-so's or pulled another child's hair. Okay, so that is a neutral, right? He was being able to be redirected, but it wasn't successful in preventing the behavior. Okay, so then you try again. Maybe this one is at 2:30. Okay, there's no influencers, so you write none. You write the support, providing sensory items, child's reaction. Child sat with sensory items and then went to go to the library. That is successful, right? We redirected the child's behavior, and we provided, and he was able to not pull children's hair. Okay, then we do it again and again and again. Now you say, Beverly, oh my God, this is so much work. You're correct. But if we don't have this, we cannot help support you. We cannot say a child, like you say, Beverly, we need to have a meeting with these parents. We need to talk about how this child's behavior is. Da, 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 da. If you don't have this, I can't help you. I cannot help you. We need to show that we have tried all the things that we can try. So yes, this may seem like a lot, but this is quick, right? You have a binder in your classroom that's going to have these. You can make little binders for each child that you may be doing support trackers for. And you just write down briefly, done, done, right? And it has to be done consistently. If we are showing, we did it on Monday, then we didn't do it again till Friday, then we did it again the next Wednesday, that's not enough. We have to do it every single day or 3 times a day for it to be successful. And we might have to do it for 2 weeks, 3 times a day for 2 weeks, right? We're going to keep this and we're going to staple it together. We're showing that we have done our success. We've done all that we can to help this child succeed. Okay. Any questions on this part? I want you to write down 2 examples of the date, time, location, activity influences, the support you're using, and the child's reaction, and if the outcome was successful, neutral, or unsuccessful.
Can you
Amanda,
repeat
do
that?
we have questions in the chat? I see that number rising up.
I've been answering them as they come.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. This form is very, very, very important. And I understand it is a lot of work. And I understand it is more to put on your plate. You already do these things already. You already do them. I know you already do them. All we have to have is the proof that you're doing them, the documentation that you're doing them. Okay. If we don't have that documentation, we can't help. We can't help. We need to see that you have tried everything that you can to help this child be successful or to help eliminate or prevent these behaviors from happening. All right, so who wants to share 2 of their support tracker?
All right, I'm gonna call on, let's see, Miss Amanda Penuela.
Can you hear me okay? My audio is a little low. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So, I provide some gross play. This is for a little guy who likes to throw, run and throw.
Okay.
Preschool. So I would, let's say 4 times a day. I'd have a little area that would have open space where he can shoot a ball or, you know, anything gross play, just kind of, instead of throwing, he'll be actively involved in an activity. And I was still looking at the influencers of outcomes. I guess that would be him actively being involved in tossing a ball, or let's say neutral. Maybe the ball would end up on the other side of the classroom with his other friends in another center. And positive, an unsuccessful would be, you know, that he's not actively involved in the activity. Is that it?
Yeah, so that's a perfect example. I kind of heard you, kind of didn't, but it's okay. We're going to go with it. So your support, your situation with the child is that they're throwing things, throwing toys, throwing things, right? So your support is providing activity, throwing activity, right? Provide a different throwing activity. Your child's reaction is engaging in the activity and stopped throwing blocks, for example, right? That is a successful outcome. Okay, then the next time you try it, your support is providing a throwing activity. The child's reaction is threw the ball at children's face. Okay, that's maybe a neutral or an unsuccessful. Okay, because it just depends on what you have written down, what it looks like to be successful, neutral, or unsuccessful. So that's a great example. Yes, thank you, Amanda. Next, please.
How about we choose Mr. Zach?
Okay, Mr. Zach, let's go.
I'm still writing mine. Sorry, I had to get new paper.
That's okay. You want to share what you got so far?
So, mine was a child's hitting throughout the day, like his friends and staff members.
Okay.
So I have time 11:25, just before lunch. location by the sinks.
Okay.
Activities, washing hands, and influences is a lunch transition.
Okay.
And the support I have is I take the child aside and I have a conversation about how he's feeling today,
Okay.
about like why he's doing this and how this kind of behavior makes his friends feel.
Okay.
And the reaction is the child apologizes
Mm-hmm.
and the outcome is successful.
Okay. Perfect. That's a great example. And I'm glad you talked about this example. Okay. So what you're doing is you're providing communication with the child. You're doing that connect and redirect strategy. Okay. What they're looking for is direct supports that you are providing for this child. So if this child is hitting his friends and it's always during the transition between lunchtime, maybe that child needs to help set the table, right? So maybe that's your support. Child help set table. Okay. Child's reaction would be no hitting of friends, successful, right? Support. Child help set table. That's the next day. Child's reaction, pushed his friend down who tried to help set the table with him. That's neutral. Okay. Support. Child helped set table. Child's reaction, didn't want to come and started pushing his friends by the sink. Unsuccessful. Right. So we need to try the exact same support multiple times to help to show that we've tried that support and it's either successful or not successful. Okay. So if the parents are saying, oh, well, so when Johnny is, he's struggling with the sunlight in the classroom, right? So one of the supports is provide so-and-so with sunglasses, provide Johnny with sunglasses, right? The reaction is Johnny throws sunglasses on the floor. Unsuccessful. You try again at a different time of the day. You provide him with the sunglasses, right? Child's reaction, kept the sunglasses on for 5 minutes, then threw them on the floor, right? This is a neutral. At least the child tried to wear the sunglasses. Then you try at a different time of day. You provided the sunglasses. Child's reaction is kept sunglasses on and walked around the classroom. That is a successful outcome, right? We have to try the exact same thing and we have to do it consistently. I hope that makes sense for everybody. Does anybody have any questions? No question is a dumb question, and I love questions on this support tracker and how to fill it out and what it is that the Air Force will be looking for.
I think it's important to note that with the support tracker, it takes 21 days for a habit to form. So although you may do the same activity in the same day or at different times of the day, that does not count towards your 21 days. Depending on the severity of the behavior, you might be redirecting constantly. And so you may write that all down for the different dates and then the same time. I mean, the same date, but different times, but note that it takes 21 days for a habit to form. So you might need multiple sheets to cover for a full month before you say, okay, this worked, or no, this did not work for this child before we move on to a more intensive support plan.
Thank you, Ms. Cherie. You are 100% correct. We cannot just try it 2 times and say, nope, this didn't work. Nope. You are 100% correct, Cherie. Yes. So you may need 10 different support tracker pages on the same support that you're trying to provide, because we have to show that we've tried. And it's not just 1 time or 2 times. It's constant. Like Ms. Cherie said, it takes 21 days to form a habit, right? That's why these children, for example, the child who takes their shoes off, he's now in a habit of taking his shoes off. So we have to break that habit. We have to provide support. Thank you for adding that, Ms. Cherie.
Ms. Sharon also adds that the support tracker can also be used on the playground when a child refuses to come in for lunch, etc.
Yes, yes, 100%. Any type of behavior that you feel you need support on, use the support tracker. work with your trainer, work with your manager, come up with supports for these behaviors and utilize those supports. They're there to help you. If a behavior is a way of a child communicating, we have to help them. We have to support that communication. So if a child is throwing toys, maybe he's communicating that I need something to do. Okay? If a child is biting, maybe he's communicating that he needs more communication. Who knows? We don't know what children are trying to communicate, but that's our job to try and figure it out. Okay, so that's the support tracker. These, you will get tons and tons of copies of this in your classroom, right? And we will help you. We are here to help you. We just need to make sure that we are doing this and we are doing it correctly. So my suggestion to you is if you are starting a support tracker on a child, bring it to a trainer or a manager first so that we can make sure you're doing it correctly. Because I would hate for you to start a support tracker and do it for 2 weeks. And then I say, oh, this is incorrect. We can't utilize this. The verbiage on here is not okay, right? So bring it to us and make sure that we are letting you know if it's correct or if there needs to be adjustments, especially with what a successful, neutral, and unsuccessful outcome would be, as well as what our 2 supports at a time would look like, or even 1 support at a time. We can't try 12 different supports at one time. Okay. Any questions on this support tracker?
We do have a question. It's, does the support tracker follow the We Need Help form, or is there a certain order?
Okay, yeah. So I'm kind of showing you the forms in the order that they would go. So you would do the We Need Your Help form. Then a manager, so let me come back out here because, okay, so you do the We Need Your Help form, okay? Then a manager does a program accommodation tool, right? We look at the child, we look at the needs that you're talking about, and we see what we need to do to help accommodate that child. Then the teachers in the classroom do the connection practice planning tool, right? This is going to have the teachers look at ways that they can connect with the child and things that they need to do to help the child, right? If you do this and you're able to realize that there's a gap in a connection with the child, you might not have to go to the next step. You can always stop at a step, okay? Then if it's still this foundational help of the connection practice planning tool is not working, then the trainer comes in and does an environmental planning tool, an environmental observation, okay? Then based off of the trainer's environmental observation and the information she shares with you, you then work on an environmental planning tool. So this is adjustments that you're going to make to your classroom or the environment to help support the child. All these documents here you utilize for the support tracker. We have to go in this step, right? We have to look at what the program can help accommodate. How is the classroom connecting with the child? What does the trainer feels needs to be adjusted in your environment? What are the adjustments you need to make in your environment? And what are we going to use to help support that child using the support tracker? Does that answer your question?
I have a question though.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Real quick. So like let's use the example of a kid's outside refusing to come in.
Yep.
We do all of that we said that we were going to do. We use all of like the methods and everything. Can we still call you guys though, because we have a schedule? Can we still call you guys to get them off the playground?
100%, right? A child runs out of the classroom, you're calling for a manager. That's a safety concern. You can't
Exactly,
get
okay.
to come inside, you're calling for a manager. A teacher is punching you in the face, you call for a manager. Yes, we still will come down. But if you're calling us down because Johnny pushed 3 children down, I'm going to ask you, what have you tried to do first? Okay, because a manager or a trainer can't be the first line of defense for a child's behavior. right? And these behaviors are getting out of control. They've come to a habit of their behaviors. So a child is constantly pushing down. That's a habit they have now. That has been accepted, right? That's their way of, behaving. We need to break that and start them a new habit. So maybe instead of pushing our friends, we're holding friends' hands, right? But yes, there are situations where you 100% can call for a manager. We are always here and willing to help. I don't
And
want
then who's
Yeah.
going to fill out the form? Is the manager, whoever's helping, going to help? Like, are they going to do their own form? Or I saw a question in the comments being like, so if a floater's dealing with a behavior,
Mhm.
do they also fill out the form with the lead?
Right. So, okay, that's a great question. Thank you for that question, right? So, if there is a child that I am constantly going in, me, myself as a manager, and I'm constantly going in and having to provide support for, I am going to create a support tracker myself, right? I'm going to have one for myself, and I'm going to write the time and the date and what happened and what was the child's response, right? So for example, a child who is constantly running out of the classroom, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to write down that I supported and I did, and it was unsuccessful. Okay. So managers and trainers will keep their own support trackers on the child. But I also think it's important that you add manager assisted, right? So you've tried your support, but then it was unsuccessful and a manager had to help or a trainer had to help. Okay. Now, if it's a floater, right? This could be an influencer of why, let's go back to this. This can be, if a floater's in there, it could be an influencer of why a child may not be successful. They could be neutral or unsuccessful. Yes, a floater can do it. It's mainly the teachers in the classroom that fill this out. But if you noticed a floater is in your classroom and they try to provide the support that you've told them to do. So if he is throwing toys, provide Shawnee the balls over by the back door, and he throws the balls at the back door. Okay, so she provides that support. The child laughs at her and runs away. That's unsuccessful, right? But the influencer it's a different teacher in the classroom, a different teacher trying to redirect, a different teacher providing the support. Does that answer your question? Any other questions?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
I have a question. It could have already been answered though.
Okay, go ahead.
With this tracker.
Yep.
And we're all keeping this documentation. So let's say the child is moving up to the next age group. Does this information follow for the next teachers, or do we start all over again?
Yes. If a child is on a support tracker, if a child has an accommodation tool, we continue it on. However, we need to make sure that we are giving that child time to adjust in the classroom, and we are giving that child the opportunity to basically have a clean slate. Sometimes when a child is in a different classroom and they move up, their behavior stops, right? So if that behavior stops, we stop the tracker. Once that behavior starts to increase again, we start the tracker. Now, say a child moves to your classroom, and for the first year in preschool, the first year this child has no behaviors, it's totally perfect, okay? Then you start to see, hey, this child's displaying these behaviors, we need your help. Then we'll go through all the steps. Same if a toddler moves up to your classroom in the first year, that toddler is okay, even though that toddler was on a support tracker and on a accommodation tool, we will have that information to show, but doesn't mean we have to continue it if the behavior is not continuing. And once the behavior starts again, then we start it all over again.
Okay.
And we look at different supporters that will try though as well, because it maybe for one teacher this worked, or this classroom this worked, but maybe in this classroom it's not going to work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Any other questions? Amanda, any questions in the chat?
Nope, you answered the one that was there.
Okay, perfect. So
wait. Oh,
yes.
I have one more.
Yes, Leah.
How when do these need to be turned in? Like, do they need to be turned in every day? Or if we forgot to do it because we didn't have time during the day and we turn it in like the next day, is that okay?
Okay, so what this support tracker is basically a log that you are going to maintain in your classroom. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then when I come to you and say, well, let me see the support tracker that you have for so-and-so, you're going to whip it out in a folder and show me 26 different support tracker times and days that you've done things and it's not successful.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? I love questions. They're my favorite.
I have one, Miss Beverly.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, it's not really about the form, but well, yes and no, I don't know. So let's say if the influence for a kid to not behave or act out is, let's say, me, like a kid always act out just with me.
Mm-hmm.
So what is then the next step? Do I
Okay,
move? Do the child move? Or like...
That's an amazing question. Thank you for asking that question, right? So if a child is behaving a certain way for one teacher and not other teachers, right? If a teacher walks in a classroom and that child's behavior instantly switches, we need to look at the connection practice planning tool for that teacher and that child, right? Because there is a break in the connection that the teacher and the child have, right? I understand that there are children that push our buttons. I understand that there are children that get under our skin. We still have to have a connection, because if there's no connection, you're not going to be able to redirect. Behaviors are only going to escalate. That's when we have to look at this connection practice planning tool and do an observation of when that teacher's in the classroom and what is going on. So maybe an outsider's look to see, okay, well, this teacher didn't even acknowledge this child for the last 3 hours. That's why the child is acting this way, right? So it could be that, right? We'll use that connection practice planning tool to help see what's going on with that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, to piggyback on that, so what if said child listens to you in the morning, like you're the opener, and then the next teacher comes in and that said child listens to both of you, but then the next teacher comes in and that child doesn't listen to the other two of you for the rest of the day and only listens to that specific teacher that came in last?
Right. So that's where it gets tricky. That's where we need to look at the connections of the teachers. We need to look at and see what is said teacher doing differently than the other teachers, right? That's why we have to have the same language. That's why we have to do the same things. That's why we have to, do the same things. I understand that children build connections and bonds differently with each teacher, right? But if the expectations are exactly the same from every teacher, the child is going to be apt to respond better. Okay. So like, for example, I always say a classroom has a mom, dad, and grandma, right? That's what makes a classroom a good classroom, because the mom is like the sweetie one, but she's also a little stern and she's not going to let you get away with murder. The dad is like more of the strict one, will give you lots of hugs and loves, but he's pretty strict. And the grandma is the one that, oh, this child can get away with anything because they're so cute, right? When it comes to a child's behavior, and when it comes to concerning or challenging behaviors, we all have to be on the same page. We all have to be a mom. We all have to be a dad. We all have to be a grandma, right? To help that child. Does that answer your question? We need to look at the connections the teachers.
Yes and no, because I understand the connections with the teachers, but like said child will like, I have no problem with said child, like in the mornings, like when the kids dropped off, said child has no problem with the other teacher at drop off, said child still listens to me and the other teacher, but then the minute that other teacher comes in, that child has like no ears for me or the other teacher.
Right, right. So that's where we look at the environment. What changed in the environment to cause that behavior to change, right? And it could be the teacher. Very well could be the teacher that triggers this child to display these behaviors, right? Or turn their listening ears off. Some teachers walk into a room and every child's listening ears are magically on. Right? That's when we look at the environment and see what kind of adjustments we need to make, right? And we need to help support the child. So I can't answer that question. It would have to be literally, we would have to do environmental observation and a connection practice planning tool to see what it is that maybe is triggering that child's ears to be turned off when said teacher walks into the classroom. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll go on to the next form. This is another form that you will utilize and that us as managers and trainers will utilize as well. Okay, so this is the plan for support tool, right? So we know we need to provide support for this child, right? And what is the behavior that is occurring, right? So example, biting, right? Is it an unsafe behavior towards self? Is it unsafe behavior towards peers, unsafe behavior towards adults, or concerning behavior? Now, if you have a 5-year-old that is biting, that is an unsafe behavior towards whomever he is biting. If a 2-year-old is biting, it is a concerning behavior, okay? Then we write the behavior. Didn't say this is a 5-year-old, okay? So it's an unsafe behavior towards his peer. Bit another child on the back, right? Possible triggers. Well, they were both playing in block center and the blocks fell down. So I would say it's an emotional need. So he gets frustrated or upset. Maybe it's too loud or too busy in there. I would tick these boxes, right? Then supports that have worked with this behavior, because we already are doing the support tracker on biting, right? We're already trying these different tools that we are working on to help prevent the biting. Did we, what works, right? Do you talk about it? Did you redirect him to a calming activity? Were you able to distract him? Were you able to get that child into a physical activity? Did you provide sensory support, or did you do other, right? What supports have worked, okay? Then you come over here, and then what's the activity that was happening at the time, and the recovery, right? What was the recovery from the incident? Recovery from the incident, he recovered from the incident independently, did not need help from any adult, right? Recovered from the incident with an adult support and re-engaged safely, okay? Additional professionals were needed for recovery and safety, a trainer, director, and so on, right? So if I have to go down for a child who's ran out of the classroom, I'm gonna fill one of these out. And I'm going to say additional professional was needed for recovery. Every time I get called down to help with a child, I am filling one of these out, okay? Alana's filling one of these out. Maria's filling one of these out. Sharon's filling, these are going to help with the support tracker and help with the supports that we are providing for children. Now, you also have to fill this out, because not every time a behavior happens, we're calling for a manager. We have to see, were they able to recover independently? Or did they need coaching and guidance from an adult, okay? So implement plan for support. So, right, okay, maybe now what are we going to do differently? What is something different we can do on a support tracker? Okay. And then we write down what we did. So we use the connect and redirect strategy. We support transition, others, right? So say a child runs out of the classroom. That is a safety concern. For a child who's frequently running out of the classrooms due to safety concern, if it's one-off, that's different. Then others, I would write pickup call to dad for unsafe behavior, right? That's if it is frequently happening, right? Or did you have to shadow the child, right? So if Johnny bit Emily and now you have to shadow him for the next 30 minutes to ensure he's not biting again, then you write the next step. What are you going to do, right? Are we going to add this to the connection practice planning tool? Are we going to schedule another meeting? Are we having the trainer do another observation tool? Do we need to fill out the we need your help form? And then reviewed footage with CYP professionals, right? This is going to be something we're going to start doing, right? So if there is a behavior or something that's happening in the classroom and you call down for a manager, we're going to look at it on the camera and we're going to have you come watch it with us, because sometimes you can see something different that you might not be able to see. So you're looking at the big picture, right? So if a child's in block center and dumped out all the toys, right? But the reason why he dumped out all the toys is because Emily pushed him down on the ground 5 times, right? That's a, normal response. Emily's been pushing. He's angry now and he's dumping out all the toys. So maybe it's good to view it from the outside, from the big picture, to kind of see what's going on. I know I've personally sat with a few and showed them video footage to help them maybe understand the reasons why a child may be displaying these behaviors, because behaviors is a way to communicate. Any questions on this tool? This one's pretty easy, but us as managers and trainers, we're going to start filling out this form as well, right? We're going to, if we're being called down for support, so that we can document and show that a manager has come. Document and show what we have done, because we have to document. I also have tons of documents that I have to do. I'm not showing you all the ones that management has to do or trainings have to do. These are mainly the ones that you have to do. Okay, so say we've tried everything. We've done everything that we needed to do, right? We've tried everything that we need to do. And so now we need something more intense, right? So, and this is even before we call an IAT. We're going to do an inclusion support tool. Inclusion support plan. This is what we're going to do with the parents. This is where we set up a plan for the child and the behaviors that they're demonstrating. For example, if a 5-year-old is biting and breaking the skin, we're coming up with a plan. Everybody will be aware of the child's plan. So if it's a courtesy call and a pickup, is it a redirection? Is it a put on different shoes, right? Put on the high top CDC shoes, right? We are going to have a support plan in place that the parents sign off on, that the teachers sign off on, managers and trainers sign off on, okay? And we have to do the support plan even before we can bring it to the inclusion action team, okay? So say with this support plan, and we're still seeing such a heightened amount of this child's behavior, that's when we're bringing it to the IAT team. But when we bring it to the IAT team, we have every single thing ready to go. We can show all the supports we've provided. We can show all the accommodations we've made. We can show all of the behaviors that this child has done. And even when we sit down with the parents, we're able to include all of that information. Look at these teachers have tried the managers have tried right? So what are the strengths? We always want to look at the strengths of the child. Just because a child has a behavior does not mean the child is awful. They are a child. What are the needs? What does the child need to be successful in the environment? Write down what the needs are, okay? What are some of the family recommendations? So we're going to talk to the families and see, what do you recommend? And then what accommodations are we making, right? Are we doing visual supports, assisted technology, adding different materials, creating safe spaces, all that kind of stuff, those different accommodation. What strategies are planned to support the child and youth participation, communication, and connection with others, right? So we have to document what we are going to do, what are we going to do, okay? Positive behavior support. How will the team support positive behavior and redirect negative behavior? Okay, this is what Dr. B was saying. We need to focus on positive behavior. The more we focus on that positive behavior, the more likely that negative behavior will slow down, hopefully, right? So, okay, so let's look at this example here. The team will acknowledge Josiah when he transitions into the program and checks in with him about his school day. If Josiah swears or says the program is stupid, the team will say, "What's going on? Can I help you? We cannot curse here, but we can sit and talk about whatever is bothering you," right? Instead of saying, "Billy, we don't say stupid," right? We need to support positive behavior, okay? How will the family and the CYP team work together to implement this plan, right? So if it is biting, breaking the skin 3 times, what are the teachers going to do and what are the families going to do to help support the plan, okay? What are the training resources that we need to help implement this plan? So does a training need to happen? Does extra documentation need to be provided to the families on, different strategies for biting, okay? How will the plan be implemented? So this is where we're going to talk about what the plan will look like and how it's going to be in place. And what's the timeline, right? So say we have a child that's running out of the classroom every single day, okay? And the plan that's in place is once the child exits the classroom, it's for a parent pickup, right? We talk about the behavior, but we have to call the parent to pick up, okay? What is our projected time to follow up? Right? We still have to show if a child is running out of classroom, there's possibly a reason why. Maybe that child's upset and doesn't want to talk to you anymore. Maybe that child doesn't want to go outside. We have to look at the behavior and see what are they trying to communicate to us, right? But we do a timeline. We do the support tracker date. The parents sign it and the director signs it, okay? And then we do a review and an update. So they say like 3 to 6 months to review or update, right? But in that time, we can do anything. We could call an IAP meeting, okay? Individualized support updates. So what are any updates for the accommodations? What are any updates for strategies? What are any updates for positive behaviors? This is a form that we will utilize, okay? Support tracker. How frequently are we tracking these behaviors, okay? So this is what the inclusion support plan looks like, right? We have to do all the steps before we come to this inclusion support plan. Once we have all of those things in our inclusion support plan and nothing is working, then we call an inclusion action team meeting. And that's where we meet with legal and our medical advisor and our EFMP and our school liaison and our flight chief and our directors and our trainers. And we all sit together and we collaborate and we come up with a final decision. If in the IAT, the final decision is we cannot accommodate this child. We have tried everything possible. We need to disenroll this child. All of the information that we have is going to be compiled together and sent up to headquarters for disenrollment. If we are missing any of these documents, we have to start all over again. And that child will continue to stay. Okay.
Ms. Beverly, there was a couple questions.
I'm ready.
So for that support plan that you just had up, if you could just reiterate if the form is filled out at a meeting with the families or is it done before?
So we do a lot of it before, but then there's sections that we do with the families, right? So what are the families' recommendations? We're going to wait to fill that out with the families, right? Have the families fill that section out, because maybe they have recommendations that we might not have thought of. But this is definitely a form that is basically letting the parents know we are trying to include your child, and we are making an inclusion support plan. We don't want to dismiss your child, but we need to get a plan in place.
Okay. And then another question is there a level of challenging behavior to determine if there should be an intervention, like the child with the issue with the shoes that is not considered dangerous to others, but at the same time, it's not acceptable or safe for the child to just walk around barefoot?
Right. So that's where we have to look at the situation, right? Is the child having a sensory processing disorder where the child does not like things on their feet? And maybe we need to work with the parents on providing different types of shoes throughout the day. Maybe that child wants to try pink shoes or green shoes or special character shoes or something like that. That, while yes, it is not a unsafe behavior, it's still a behavior, right? It's still something we need support with, and it's still something that we need help with, right? Just because it's not unsafe doesn't mean it's not a behavior that we can try to address or try to correct. Does that answer the question?
I believe so. If it does not, they can put it into the chat.
Okay.
And the last question that I see on here is, what if there is more than one behavior for the same child? Does this elevate the situation, or hang on one second, or observe every behavior separately?
Right. That's a great question. And I'm glad that question was asked. So say we need to look at the child and we need to look at their behaviors, right? So say you have a child that bites, that runs out of the classroom, and that punches teachers in the face. Okay. Those are 3 separate behaviors that require 3 separate support trackers, that require 3 separate environmental observations. It's all separate, right? And because we have to show our due diligence in helping that specific behavior, right? Well, I could see that you put the bells on the doors to help her stop running out of the classroom, but what have you done to help with her punching teachers, right? Each one, we need to provide support trackers for each and every behavior.
Thank you. That's all of the questions that I can see in the chat right now.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? I have tons and tons and tons of resources that I can provide to help with de-escalating, to help with understanding behaviors, to help calming techniques. I know our trainers have tons and tons and tons of resources as well. Also, KIT has tons and tons of resources that you could utilize. All of these forms that I'm showing you has a training on how to fill them out. Okay, and you can go onto KIT and you could watch the trainings on how to properly fill out the support tracker, right? KIT is there to help support you, and we have to refer to KIT for everything now. Okay, but I have tons and tons of support tools that I can help provide you. I know our trainers also have that. And like Dr. B suggested, each classroom is going to receive a binder that has all the forms that you will need to fill out. And I'll probably write like an example of when you start each form to help you understand when to start the We Need Your Help. When do you do the connection practice planning tool? When do you do the environmental? When do you start the support tracker? I'll kind of write an explanation down for the classroom so that they know when this when these forms need to be done and how they need to be done. But that's the inclusion guide. I know it's a lot, and I know it seems like a lot of work. I think once we start doing it and adjusting ourselves and writing it down, I know we already do the work. Now we just have to write it down, right? I know you guys work really, really hard every day. You redirect, you connect, you provide different strategies. All we have to do now is just write it down so that we got your back. The paperwork shows you that we got your back. So the paper that you filled out today needs to be put in my box where you put your leave slips on Monday when you come in. Okay. That way I can give you credit for this training, and the trainers can write it in your on your training log, your 1098s. Sorry. Any other questions? Anything you want to add, Alana or Dr. B or Shirley or Amanda?
If you are on leave on Monday, because I know there's a couple of you who are on leave, please give it to her by Tuesday.
Yes, sorry.
But only if you're on leave. If you're there, we need it Monday.
So I'm on leave for 2 weeks. Can I give it to one of them to get to you?
Yeah,
I'm on maternity leave as of 5 p.m. today. So if you do not give me your VLS, it will not get checked until August.
Sheesh.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, thank you guys for joining, and we will see you on Monday.
Wait, I have one more thing.
Yes.
For everyone, I don't know if, because I was at Miss Savannah's office today about the email that you sent us yesterday, Miss Alana.
Yes.
And she said that we shouldn't worry because we have time till June to do that logging stuff that we need to do. So I wanted to just let everyone know, because I think everyone is calling her in the office and she's a little overwhelmed.
She called me this morning and informed me that that it's now been changed to June. I didn't know that until this morning. So, but she did say all we have to do is log into NAF, the NAF Pay account, and change your email to your personal email. And then that's all about for now.
Yeah, that's what she told me, that it's not as complicated as we see in that PDF file that we all got. So okay.
Thank you, Miss Jennifer. And if you guys have any questions on that, or if you're locked out of your account, please give me all your questions or whatever you need on Monday so I can tell Miss Savannah.
Okay, I see another question in the box and I want to answer it because I think it's a good question. So it says, how long after the "we need your help" forms filled out should trainers or managers be coming into your classroom? Okay, so that is a great question. And that is something that we as managers and trainers are going to work on. When we get that "we need your help" form and we evaluate it and we see, oh, wait a minute, this is a behavior that we feel maybe needs extra support, we're going to go in and do that observation. Okay, so I would say give us a week so that we can make sure, like, I can't say I'll come in tomorrow. We never know what tomorrow is going to bring. So I would say a week.
Sometimes that timeline might change depending on how that meeting with the parent goes as well with management.
Correct. Yes, correct. Good question, though. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes.
So on that email that Alana sent us, it told us like the links and all that. I've tried to access both of them and it's just not happening for me. So should I just wait to do this like when on a Monday?
Yeah, we'll just wait. Anything that, if you guys can't get onto it or whatever, let's just wait until next week so we can sort it with Savannah, when we're all back in the offices.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. All right, guys, you guys are good to go.
All right. Thank you guys for coming so much.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
Bye. You too.
Weekend. Thank you. Have a nice
See you
weekend.
Monday.
Bye.
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 Can I get off?
Yep. You can.
Is she here? I'm Michelle. Luna. Hi, Luna.
Bye. Have a good break.
Look at her. Oh, I miss her. Look at Luna. She looks like she's painting. Yeah. She's so confused. She's like